You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Bhaskar Sundram, and with my co-host,
Ashley Case.
We will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories and discuss their career and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Rita Mascia. Rita is a global bid manager at Altro Limited and has been leading bids in APAC, EMEA and North America. Since 2000, Rita has been involved in business development and capture activities, bid writing and bid management and training and development. An active APMP member from 2012, Rita has presented at both APMP UK and APMP BidCon. She was finalist in the 2019 APMP Individual Impact Award and has been nominated for her impact setting up for bid management program for Altro Limited. Rita was a board member of APMP UK in the role of Certification Director 2015-16. Since 2013, Rita has been volunteering as a coach and mentor to a number of fundraising professionals through a small charity coalition and also informally through personal contacts. In addition to being a certified professional, Rita is also a certified Prince 2 project management practitioner and holds a level 7 executive diploma in strategic management and leadership from the Chartered Management Institute. She holds a BA Honours in French and Linguistics and a Master in Applied Linguistics. Ooh. Rita is a Master Practitioner of Neurolinguistic Programming and a Toastmaster International Competent Leader and a Competent Communicator. Wow, Rita. Welcome to Scribble Talk, Rita. Great to have you with us.
Oh, great to be invited. Thank you very much.
Rita, let's start from the very, very beginning. Where were you born? And let's talk about your high school and education.
Sure. I was born in Italy, in the island of Sardinia, and I lived there until I was 26, and therefore I did my high school there, and I did a law degree, when I was there, but I haven't finished it. Because I was interested also in other things, and I did a course to become a tourist guide, which was one of my passions, was traveling, and then I went to India in 1985, and it was a trip that really changed my life. It made me feel very small in Sardinia. Somehow I felt living in an island as well. It made me feel like there was so much more to the world. And when I went to India, I felt, oh my God, it was so different. It was such a different environment. And I promised myself that I was going to go and find out more about the world. So I basically left and I moved to America.
So where were you exactly, Rita? Which part of India?
I went to Delhi, and then from Delhi I went to Varanasi, Khajuraho, which is an area where there are some erotic temples, which is a really nice archaeological area. Then I went to Agra, obviously, to see the Taj Mahal and all, and then from there I went back to Delhi, and then I went to Rajasthan, and I went to Jaipur, Jodhpur, and Udaipur. They all end up in Pur.
Yes.
And yes.
Perfect. So you did the Northern Triangle trip there. So when did you move to United States, and how long were you there?
I moved to the United States in 1986, and I was there for 7 years. For 6 years.
Got you. And is that where you did your degrees there, or you did your BA Honours French and Linguistics and Masters somewhere else?
No, I did that in the UK actually.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you in the States?
Oh, in the States, I actually moved to Los Angeles at first. Simply, I just went to the States because I wanted to learn English. And I had a friend in Los Angeles from Sardinia, and she always said to me, "Oh, come and visit, come and stay, whatever." And so I went there as as a sort of beginning to start with. I didn't know much about Los Angeles. I didn't know if I was going to like it or anything. But I actually I wasn't really keen on staying there because I didn't like the fact that you had to use the car for everything in Los Angeles. It's a very much car-based kind of society. And so I moved to New York instead. And as soon as I got to New York, I felt like, oh, this is where I belong. I really loved it.
Got you. And you were there in New York for like 5-6 years, most of your time?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Perfect. So what was your first job? Was that in Italy or in US?
Right. Okay. It depends what we mean by first job. So if it's a proper job or my very first job, even if it wasn't an unpaid one. So I have a few that I can remember. Actually, my very first job was unpaid, and it was to be my father's secretary. I was actually 14 at most when he used to make me type quotes for his business. And also I had to match his VAT books. My father basically had a very small haulier business with another 2 partners. And he actually had to bid for work, although at the time, obviously they weren't the bids that we see now, that's for sure. And the price was all that was needed. I'm sure the situation is very much different now. But that was really actually my first experience of bidding, believe it or not. Although at the time I didn't know that that's what it was called. I was just doing what my father told me to do. And after that, as I said, my first job was as a tourist rep for a travel company. They organized coach trips. And it was mostly seasonal, in the summer only. And basically, I used to sit at the front of the couch, keep the passenger entertained, and then look after them in the resort, organizing everything from lunch preferences to making sure everyone was on time and didn't get lost in the excursions, etc.
That's interesting.
So that was, yeah.
So what sort of jobs did you take in the States while you were there for 6 years?
Oh, in the States, I worked in the hospitality business, and I actually started waitressing, and then I started working for this company who had one of their establishments in just opposite Carnegie Hall on 7th Avenue and 57th Street in Manhattan, and they had a lot of conferencing halls and catering halls, and we used to do a lot of the after parties from the musicians for the musicians that used to play at Carnegie Hall. So we used to close up everything, for this. One day we closed up the whole place, which was a very successful restaurant, by the way. And did a party for there was a Jose Carreras and other tenors that were there. There were jazzists like Jesse Norman and other people. And our regular customers were like Sting, for instance. We had Dame Maggie Smith as one of our clients as well. So lots of celebrities, and I used to be the maitre d' for the conferences, basically, and coordinate all the various private parties that were run.
Perfect, Rita. And what brought you back to the United Kingdom?
Oh, well, not brought me back, brought me to the United Kingdom, because obviously, it was another destination. Well, it was really family, in the sense that when I was in the States, it was very difficult for me to be going back to Italy, because, often as I would have liked it, obviously because of the distance, because at that time there weren't so many airlines at cheap prices that there are now, and I really miss seeing my parents, and I thought, if I'm gonna continue to live here, this is going to be what's going to happen, and I'm going to miss out a lot on that. So I decided that I needed to be closer to Italy, but I wasn't prepared to go back and live there. I still wanted to do other things. So I had the 2 countries shortlisted. One was the UK, and one was France. But I think at the time my English was better than my French. And I thought I would have done better in the UK professionally. I mean, I could have gone to France, but it would have taken me longer to get to where I wanted to be. And I I didn't want to waste time, I guess, financing my language skills in French and so on. So I decided to come to the UK.
It's amazing. You came to the UK and you studied French.
Yes, I know. Isn't it funny? I think I was probably still thinking, maybe next I'll go to France.
Yes. So where did you do your bachelor's and master's in UK?
I did it at the University of London. I did it at Birkbeck College, which is a college from the University of London that specializes, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it specializes with people who are actually already in work, so mature students.
Got you.
So all my colleagues were people like me. They had a full-time job and they were studying in the evening. So we had all our lectures were in the evening, and I have to say I absolutely loved my university time. It was one of the most rewarding periods of my life, I have to say. I really, really enjoyed studying as a mature student. And I mean, the term mature, it really applies here, because I think once you're a little bit older, you're really studying because you want to study something, not because that's what your parents told you to do, or that's why you think you should do, but you're not really sure of what to study or whatever.
So true, Rita, so true. So coming back to UK, was there any other jobs that you took before you entered the proposal world?
Oh, yes, several, yes. So basically, when I was in Italy, I just have to give you a bit of background on that. When I was in Italy, I also managed a shop, which was a shop selling jewelry and antiques from Asia, and that's where my interest for Indian came from to begin with. And so I used to run the place with my colleague, and so I had quite a lot of experience in running retail, in managing retail, in the retail sector. And when I came to the UK, the hospitality sector, it wasn't as good as it was in America, where it was very lucrative and really fun to work with, etc. It was a completely different setup, mostly due to the fact that you get a lot of compensation through the tips in America as well, while you don't get so much here in the UK. So it wasn't a sector that I wanted to stay in anymore, and so I started working in the hotel business first, and then I basically started working for a shop in London, and then after that I did a couple of years working as a sales office manager for an import-export of batons, and And then I got to use my languages as well, of course, because we had customers in the UK, but we also had a lot of suppliers in Europe, like in Italy particularly, but also in Spain and other places. So I used to liaise a lot with both the salespeople, but also the supply side of the business.
Brilliant. And from the sales and the supply side, how did you enter the proposal world, Rita?
Well, accidentally, as everybody else in this profession. Right. So in 2000, I started working for the University of Bedfordshire, which at the time was called University of Luton, and I was hired as a researcher / evaluator, and my job was to evaluate a multi-million-pound program that had been funded by the European Union. And while I was doing this job, which consisted of doing a lot of case studies and a lot of quantitative and qualitative research, I also was involved in the business development side of the university. And there was a colleague of mine who had asked me for some help to research a bid that he was writing. And while I was helping him on that, I found out that I found out the funding streams basically that he was using to bid for his own bid. And I saw something that interested me, which was some funding to deliver training to women in the business profession who wanted to start a digital business. By digital business, I mean e-commerce, really. This was, if you remember, the 2000 year, when there was the digital bubble exploding. Everybody was going off and building websites, but there wasn't very much knowledge as well. And so I saw this opportunity to put together a proposal, and I went and spoke to my boss, and I said, I saw this, and I think I have an idea for a project that we could bid for. And my boss at the time, it was a very, was someone that didn't speak a lot, but what he said, it was like a very, always very decisive. And so he said, yeah, sounds good. Go and write the bid now. And that was it. So basically, I put together a partnership with a friend of mine who used to run a networking event for business women, which was called E-Business for Women. No, sorry, it was called, E-Business for Women. And basically, she used to organize sort of networking events for these women, where she had people talking about various topics that would be of relevance to anybody who wanted to run their own website and started selling things on the internet and things like that. And then together with my friend, then we got a lot of letter of support from various organizations that were interested in participating, like IBM or media organizations, and we basically put together a proposal, and one of my colleagues did the budget for the bid, because I certainly didn't have a clue what to do, because it was my first one. And I don't know if you're familiar with the European bidding, but it's quite challenging in terms of compliance and everything else. And basically we submitted the bid, and 3-4 months later I heard that we won the bid, and they gave us £1 million to do this project. So I was hooked. I thought, people give you money for an idea. That's it. That was me. That's how I started. And then because I was successful, then my boss asked me to collaborate on all the other bits the business development team was writing. And I started writing all my own bits and managing the projects as well. And that's how I started, and I loved it.
Brilliant. And at what point did you realize that there is an association like APMP, and when did you become a member of APMP?
Oh, that's such a good question, Bhaskar. Because I only found out about the APMP in 2012. That's 12 years after I actually started working in bids and proposal, and I could not believe it that all this time there was a bunch of people like me that share the same frustration and the same rewards of this profession. So when I found out, it was like I was thrown in a sweet shop, basically. And I found out through my friend Isabel Moritz.
Got you. And you not only became a member of APMP, you went on to also be part of the APMP board in 2015. Can you share any memorable stories around your board and also your wider contribution presenting in APMP UK and BidCon?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. In terms of the APMP board, I was very, very, grateful to have been asked to help with the board. It has been such an enriching experience being able to work alongside so many talented bid professionals, and I made so many good friends. And one of the memories I have is of driving very early on a Saturday morning to the quarterly board meeting and re-emerging 8 hours later feeling more invigorated than when I actually went in. And I was there at the time that we were developing the mission statement and strategy for the next 3 to 5 years. And being part of that was really inspiring. I mean, don't get me wrong, there were plenty of healthy disagreements within the board on how to implement various initiatives, but we were all driven by our passion for making the association that has become something to be proud of. And in terms of contributing to the bid and proposal community, one memorable experience was, I think it was 2016, and Isabel Moritz and I were invited to present at BPC, with a proposal con, and it was entitled, I can't remember where we were, if it was Seattle, I think it must have been, yeah, something like that, but or Boston, maybe Boston, and our session was entitled, "Are you ready to jump off the freelance cliff? And if so, here is your parachute," which wanted to be a metaphor for our session of whether freelancing as a bid professional was for you, the person who was attending the session. And if so, what parachute does one need to be able to land safely and have a successful career? So the session was not actually about Isabel or about my experience, although both of us had experience of freelancing. Instead, we did a lot of case studies of real examples of APMP colleagues who did it before. And we wanted to tell their stories and and give a glimpse to the audience of how it can be. So we told them about all the nice things, but also all the difficulties, the challenges, so they could be more prepared. And the reason why this experience is memorable is because even after the conference was over, I had so many emails from people who had attended that actually told me that they've been inspired to take their first step toward becoming freelancers. And I never realized that, how you can affect people in a lot of ways. And most of the time we're not aware of it. We just go do a presentation, we leave the room, we go back home, and that was it. And then you get this kind of feedback, and it really makes your work worthwhile.
Totally, Rita, totally. Also talk us through your certification journey, Rita. You are one of the very few professionals in the industry who also have the highest certification honor of APMP CPP, the professional one. Talk us through your certification journey as well.
My APMP certification journey was actually quite swift because as I said, because I only discovered APMP 12 years after being in this business, I immediately qualified for being assessed for my foundation and my practitioner. So I did the foundation straight after 3 months that I joined the program, I think. So that must have been 2012, and then I probably took me a year or so to collect all my examples for the practitioner, and I think I did that in 2014. And then after that, then I thought, well, I qualify for the professional, I might as well do that one as well. Mm-hmm. And that was actually, I found it very challenging because, I had to find a real example, and there was like some sort of balance to be struck between confidentiality issues and being able to quantify the impact and so on. But I did it, and it was a really good experience to get through it, and I really enjoyed it, actually.
Perfect. So, as a segue to our Nutters round, which is rapid random fire questions round, Rita. So let's talk about the 3 things not many people know about you.
Right. Okay. 3 things. Well, one I could say is probably people don't know that I studied a martial art called Ki Aikido for 10 years before I had to leave for health reasons. And during that time that I did Aikido, I became a black belt by taking the examination for first dan and second dan. And I also used to teach Aikido. In fact, I was an assistant teacher for a while. And then when my teacher had to leave for personal reasons, he asked me to take over the club, and I taught for a few years. And I have to say, I still miss it. But unfortunately, due to some health reasons, I can't practice it anymore. So that's one. Another one is I have a phobia of cockroaches. And just to give you an idea, one day I was watching the animation film Wall-E. You have children, Bhaskar. You probably watched it.
Yeah.
Have you watched that film?
I think my kids would have watched it. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I literally jumped out from the couch and I had to turn the TV off because there was a cockroach on the screen. And that was not even a film. It was an animation film. And another time, one of my aunties thought it funny to send me a picture of cockroaches on a WhatsApp video. And I literally threw the phone across the room as I opened the photo. Thankfully, the floor was carpeted, so I didn't break the phone, but that's how bad it is.
Wow.
On the other hand, if spiders don't bother me so much, so I don't like them, but they don't trigger panic. So that's another one. And also, the third one, probably people don't know, I drove 5,000 kilometers in an old 1968 Ford Pinto station wagon that I bought for $350 in Los Angeles when I was living there, the mid-'80s. And my destination was New York, but I had to make a detour in New Orleans, as it was always a dream of mine to see the birthplace of jazz and the Latin Quarter and all of it. So there was 3,000 kilometers from Los Angeles to New Orleans, and then I did another 2,000 kilometers from New Orleans to New York. And then when I arrived in New York, it was love at first sight with the city.
Wow, so different three things, definitely. Thank you so much for that, Rita, and I'm sure Ashley will take it further from here.
Yeah.
So Rita, it's been such an amazing morning for me and afternoon for you learning about your career and all the fun things that you've done in your life. I understand that when you're not watching shows like WALL-E or movies like that, you like independent films. Do you have a favorite independent film?
Yes. It's called Festen. And it's a Scandinavian film. It's a Danish film, and it's a very, very long film, but it's full of meditations about family, about relationships, about abuse, about all sorts of things that are all packed into a film that the actual story of the film is a celebration. Festen means celebration in Danish, probably, and it's basically it was the celebration of an anniversary, or I think it was either an anniversary or a milestone birthday of the head of this family, and it turns out to be something else, which I can't tell you because otherwise I'm going to spoil it for those who want to watch it. And and the director who works on this film has actually come up with a manifesto for his kind of filmmaking, which basically is a series of directors that agree, of filmmakers that agree to a 10 points memorandum, whereby, for instance, they only use natural light to shoot scenes. They try to use naturalistic environments. So a lot of different things that make a film look the way it is, basically.
Yeah, very cool.
But that's just one of the many that I actually, I love so many different genres of films.
Yeah, I can tell you sound very passionate about them.
Oh yeah.
I also understand that you love cooking. So
I do.
Yeah. So if you were chosen to make a dinner for a very special guest from the past, who would you invite and what would you cook for them?
I think I would invite Barack Obama because I really like him. So I think I'm going to invite Barack Obama because I get that will bring me also Michelle Obama. So I get 2 for 1. And and I think I will cook them a wonderful dish of pasta, because I want them to experience something, from Italy, something that I know how to cook well as well.
Yeah. What is your signature pasta dish?
Oh, I don't think I have one signature pasta dish, but I love anything that's got some sort of cheese in it.
Yeah.
Either multiple cheeses or, cheese in the recipe.
Yeah, cheese makes everything
I
taste
love
better, right?
cheese. That's one of my weaknesses.
Me too, for sure. So this is one of our more random ones. If your 5-year-old self suddenly found themselves in your current body, what would your 5-year-old self do first?
5-year-old? Oh. I think I would be probably, well, I know what I used to do because my mom told me, not because I don't remember any of it, but my mom told me that one day she caught me before I was ready to cut off with a pair of scissors my coat, my going out coat. Yes, because I was just, experimenting. And she said, I just caught you in time. And so that's probably what I will be doing, some dangerous activity like that.
Oh my goodness. Well, good thing she caught you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I understand you also like traveling. What's one place you'd like to travel to that you have not been to yet?
Oh, I definitely want to go to see the Victoria Falls but actually I'm torn between that and South Africa.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I think I think probably I will go to South Africa first, actually, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because there is more to do.
Yeah. Both sound like great trips.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have anything else on your bucket list?
On my bucket list, oh yes, I want to go to a film festival. I want to at least once go to any of the Cannes, Venice, or Sundance, or Berlin Festival. It's one of the things that I want to do, and I'm definitely going to do it when I retire, probably, and I have more time.
Absolutely, I bet that will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, looking back on your career and your life, who are the people who have been most influential in both of those areas, your life and your career?
Well, in no particular order, I want to mention 3 people. 2 are from the world of work, and 1 is from academia. So the first one is Professor Larry Selinker, who's now retired, and he was one of my tutors at the University of London, and also he was the supervisor of my master's thesis in applied linguistics. And together we co-wrote a few academic articles as well, papers, and we co-presented at a number of conferences as well. And he really taught me how to write and do research. And I learned from him also how to network. He was supremely good at putting people together in contact with one another who share the same interest. And I definitely learned from him how to value collaboration between colleagues. I am one of those people, in fact, that always makes connections for and with other people. And it is because of those connections, actually, that I had the career that I had. For instance, in my work at the university, when I was working at the university, the success in securing projects came from the work I did in building viable teaming partnerships, for instance. And I definitely owe these skills to Larry, without doubt. And the nice thing is I'm still in contact with him. Actually, I've seen him recently in New York in December last year.
Oh, wow.
And we spent a day in New York, you know, and it was wonderful to catch up, you know. This was like 22 years after I last saw him. Yeah, so that was great. So that's from academia. The other two, one I've already mentioned it, and is Frank Burdett, who was my first boss when I started writing bids. And, you know, as I said before, I still remember his response whenever I went and told him an idea that I had. And you know, and he used to say, the answer is yes, now go and do it. And I couldn't believe it. I was given free leeway to be creative, and I was made immediately responsible for achieving that goal, it was a very empowering. And I had a great fun qualifying an opportunity and doing the research. Also, I liked Frank because he was always able to give me really honest feedback to help me grow, but it never made me feel inadequate or never made me feel defensive. And so for me, he was a very positive figure, optimistic, and a strategist. And the other thing why he has been so influential is that he was a daily swimmer. And although I've always been a swimmer and I've always, you know, gone to the swimming pool and done my laps, I've never been a regular swimmer. But then I discovered that he used to go swimming every day before work. And that resonated with me. And I thought, what a great routine. You know, and he said that, yeah, by the time I come to work, I'm very awake and everything. And I thought, I'm going to try that. And to this day, I go, you know, my routine is that I go swimming before going to work, or at least in pre-COVID times. And I owe it to him, actually, to have inspired me for that. And finally, the last one that I want to mention, and as I said, is not in any particular order, I owe Isabel Moritz, my colleague, a huge debt of gratitude. Not only she's been a fantastic friend, but she has actually championed my work in the APMP world. She introduced me to so many valuable contacts, and she's still someone I go to when I need advice. And I was so delighted when she was made an APMP fellow. I cannot think of a more deserving person to receive it. And Isabel has been a fantastic role model for me. And because of her, I really try to be to others what she has been for me.
Oh, sounds like you've had so many amazing people in your life.
Yes, very lucky in that sense.
So you mentioned we're kind of in some interesting times right now. What have you observed lately that reminded you that people are good?
Well, exactly as you said, during COVID lockdown, because I was living alone at that time, my neighbors actually reached out to me to make sure I was okay, as they knew I lived alone. And, you know, some of them WhatsApp me, they offered to do the groceries for me. Another one, you know, they sent me a card and they said, Rita, if you need anything at any time, just knock on our door, you know, we'll, you know. I was actually quite touched, because often we don't talk too much to the neighbors, maybe, you know, the occasional, oh, hi, how you doing? All right. But then when they do things like that, you realize actually people care much more than they seem to show.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So, Rita, who is the kindest person that you know?
Well, I'm tempted to dodge the question and say my mother,
Yeah.
even though she passed away. She was always my role model for me, and I could give you 100 examples of her kindness and thoughtfulness. But if we're talking of a person who is alive and well, then I would say my partner is actually the kindest person I know.
Oh,
Very lucky.
that's amazing. Yeah. So we learned so much about you and your career and your life. Looking back, what's one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Okay, if we are talking about my bid and proposal career, I know this is going to sound a bit cheesy, but I really wish I had known the APMP existed much earlier than 2012. I didn't know that there was support tools and programs to support my career, and my personal development skyrocketed once I discovered and I started to engage in it with it. And if we are talking about my career in general, though, then I wish I had been more confident in my own abilities. I do suffer from imposter syndrome at times, and it's only when I hear colleagues telling me things like, "Oh, I really respect what you do, Rita. I couldn't do that job in a million years. I don't know how you do it, really." I guess we tend to see achievements in other people, but we often, especially women are guilty of this, tend to minimize our own achievements or capabilities. And as you know, there is research that says a man will apply for a job if he knows 20%, how to do 20% of it. A woman would only apply if they know 80% of what the job entails. That gives you an idea. And I guess I'm in that camp that, you know, I tend to, you know, never feel prepared enough, which is, I guess, is the reason why I'm a learning junkie. In a way, there is a positive to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's definitely something I feel like so many people can relate to. What advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a successful bid and proposal career?
Well, I would say life is too short to be doing a job that they don't enjoy. So if they find themselves in the bid and proposal world and they like their job, then I would say just stick with it. Don't focus on improving your weaknesses. They are weaknesses for a reason. I mean, personally, whenever I've had a weakness, I try to work really hard on them. And then I realize after a while that it doesn't serve me well. I'm much better off focusing on my strength and becoming really, really good at those things, because that's where I can serve the best. So, for instance, if you're not good at maths, don't go for for a job in don't go for a role in price to win budgeting or something like that, because you might struggle with that. Try, focus on the area of bid and proposal where you can be your best. And it takes about 10 years to become an expert, and we can all do it if we focus on it. So, having said that, though, a word of caution as well. So pick something that you enjoy, but don't be deterred by trying something different. Sometimes the best opportunity for development come from roles or organization that we wouldn't necessarily be drawn to it. For instance, when I joined my current company, Altro, the reason I joined was because I had heard so many good things about it, how people love it to work there, how there was hardly any staff turnover as people tended to stay indefinitely, etc. And if they had told me like 20 years ago, oh, you will be working in a company that manufactures resilient flooring for rail, I would have probably laughed. because it seemed such an unlikely job that I would be drawn to it. But I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it's a large company with subsidiaries around the world, etc., it's still run as a family business that fulfills, the corporate social responsibilities. And and I work for a company that donates 2% of their turnover to social care projects all over the world. So for me, going sideways or upwards or downwards or left or right, doesn't matter, as long as you work, as you're doing something in which you believe, or something for an organization that has the same mission values, the same values and mission statements that you can correlate, that you can relate to. That's it. That's the word. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's such amazing advice. If you don't feel fulfilled by your work and it doesn't make you happy, work is going to always be work, right? And it's much better if you enjoy it. So Rita, what is next for you? What are you looking forward to in the future?
That's it. Always a challenging question, I have to say, because all my life, I never really knew what I wanted to do next. It's always changing. But if we are talking in the short to medium term, I'm extremely lucky, as I said, to have found a role that allows me to enjoy what I do. And as you know, particularly now during COVID, we're experiencing very uncertain times. And what I might say today may change tomorrow, depending on what the business environment will bring us. But my intention, if things stay as they are, is to continue to develop myself and others. And I'm in a privileged position to be able to propose initiatives and processes and act upon it in my company. And at the moment, I want to focus on improving our capture and business development. But if you ask me in the long term, I would say maybe 8-10 years from now. Well, my partner and I are hoping to do some volunteering with the organizations that work with children in less developed countries for, say, 3 to 6 months at a time. So go and live there and work with them, and then come back here. And this will combine basically our passion for traveling with our desire to give back to less fortunate people. And it's exciting just thinking about it. Plus, I can't really let the bid and proposal skills go to waste. If I can help this organization win some funding for their worthy cases, then my mission in life to do good with what I was given will be complete.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Rita. Such a great plans, and giving back and being able to combine that with your passion. Just, such a good.
Yeah, it's just a very nice goal to have, to keep thinking, oh, one day I'm going to be doing this, and so it gives us something to think about it.
Absolutely. Well, Rita, it's been amazing hearing about your past, your present, your future. Such an amazing person. Thank you so much for your time today. It's really been a privilege to have you.
Same here. It's been my privilege.
So we wish you all the good health and happiness. Please continue to inspire bid and proposal industry colleagues, everyone around you. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. And the same to you guys.
Thank you, Rita. Take care.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit batchyscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Pastor Sundram,
signing off.